A high school social worker is seeing a 13-year-old boy for anger management. He is a straight A student and is usually calm, happy, and social. He usually arrives at school early and stays late to help his teachers. The student missed class one day last week and showed up the next day with his arm in a cast, a visible bruise on the back of his neck, and a black eye. He reports that he fell off his skateboard earlier that morning and that he had to be checked out at the doctor. The following week, he threw a chair across the classroom after his teacher handed him back his exam paper with a grade of D. When the social worker asked him how things were going at home, all of a sudden, the student shouted at her and stated, "Leave me alone. You don't know my family." What should the social worker do first? Okay, so of course we want to first figure out what the question is asking for us to answer. So we do that by, again, just reiterating what should the social worker do first with keywords should and first. I decided to double up on this one. Usually should and first will not be capitalized together. It will probably say what should the social worker do and first will be capitalized. But for training purposes, I just want you to pay attention to the word should and the words first, whether it's capitalized or not. Of course, should always indicates something that we need to do that is legal or ethical, something that is according to our code of ethics or to the law. So something that we should do is something that we should do. Not what's best, not what we think we should do, but literally what should we do? And in this case, they want to know what should we do first. So now what should we do first about what? Okay, so we have this student that he's already being seen for anger management. He's usually straight A's, calm and social and everything. However, when he gets to school, and he has his arm in a cast and the bruise on the back of his neck and a black eye, this, of course, is cause for alarm. So now he reports that he fell off his skateboard earlier that morning and he had to be checked out at the doctor. So that's why he missed that day of school. Okay. The following week, he threw a chair across the classroom after he got his grades back and now he has a D. Mind you, he's usually a straight A student. So he got so angry that at his grade, he threw a chair across the classroom. Also keep in mind that he's usually calm and happy. So when the social worker asked him how things are going at home, all of a sudden, the student shouted at her and stated, "Leave me alone, you don't know my family." I cannot stress this enough that whenever you see something in quotation marks that has come from the client, that's usually what your answer is going to be centered around. Okay, so we do need to focus primarily on what the client said, what is in quotation marks. Okay, so the answer choices. What should the social worker do first? A, should the social worker take his abrupt change in behavior as him just having a bad day? B, should the social worker first contact CPS to report suspected child abuse? C, should the social worker first ask the student if his parents are abusing him? D, should the social worker first contact the student's parents to inform them of his behavior? Okay, so this one can be a little tricky in the sense of, sometimes you would say, oh yeah, let's ask him before we assume that his parents are abusing him or, whatever, if we just had that assumption. However, when there is reasonable cause for suspicion, that's when that changes. So because we see these signs of these physical signs of abuse that really does not seem to be in line with him, just simply falling off of his skateboard, that causes us to suspect. So in dealing with these answer choices, to just take his abrupt change in behavior as just him having a bad day. Usually, abrupt changes in behavior is a primary indicator that something is wrong. So we do not want to assume that nothing is wrong. Okay, so we definitely don't want to just kind of write it off and say, oh, he must just be having a bad day. Okay, he's not usually not like this. He may just be having a bad day. We definitely don't want to just write it off that way because that could be the case, but what if it's not? So, B, will we contact CPS to report suspected child abuse? This is something that we could very likely do, but we want to know, is this the first thing that we should do? Okay. So C, do we want to ask the student? Do we want to first ask the students if his parents are abusing him? Now here's where it really gets a little tricky, because if the student has already stated that he fell off his skateboard, directly asking him if his parents are abusing him may not yield an honest answer. Okay. So we may not be acting in the best interest of the child if we would first, ask him after he's already stated that, he fell off of his skateboard. And then when you asked him about how things were going at home, he basically started shouting, kind of got a little irate and started shouting, leave him alone. You don't know about his family. So that already tells us that he has a problem with us asking about, what's going on with his family. So that may not be the first thing we need to do, considering the circumstances presented as well. So, however, discussing his behaviors should be done at some point and can possibly lead to him discussing possible abuse. But I don't think that that's something that we should do first. Okay, so we're going to eliminate this one. Option D. Should the social worker first contact the student's parents to inform them of his behavior? Contacting his parents can also be done if the social worker feels that parental intervention is necessary at this point. However, this is something that is not required, nor should it be done first. So I think that, it's fair enough to say that we should eliminate that as well, because the main thing that we should do, because we suspect that he could be getting abused, is contact CPS to report it, because we suspect it, and again, we're not investigators, so we're contacting them so that they can, we're following the report so that they can investigate whether it is or is not the case. So that's definitely something we should do, and it's actually the first thing we should do. At the minute we suspect any abuse, with this minor, we should definitely contact CPS to report it. Now, yes, we can inform the family that we are following up the report, or that we have to file the report. We are mandated reporters. However, the parents are currently not here in this session. Don't want to assume, because it doesn't say that the parents are here or whatever. So if you want to make your reports to CPS, and then contact the student's parents to inform them about the behavior and let them know that, you suspect, because of his bruises, child abuse, that you had to mandatedly report it, then you can also do that. But again, that's kind of going way around and doing a lot of things that are outside of what really needs to be done first.